We are the higher self of the One, known to this instrument in the language terms as Elijah, Mensah, whose incarnation cycle has begun on the timeline of 2022. Furthermore, we as the higher self of the entity known as Elijah shall now, at this timeline, greet all of you in this incarnation cycle for the purpose of addressing the queries which are requested through this instrument. Furthermore, before we commune at this time, we are of the opinion that the entity known as Elijah Mensah is recommended to only understand and accept those thoughts which truly resonate within its inner heart, thereby allowing a deep focus of resilience and overcoming excessive reliance on the outside illusion complex. The first query which is presented at this timeline relates primarily with what is its soul's identity. We must firstly state that the entity known as Elijah Mensah in this timeline has a soul identity of a wanderer from the fourth density, seventh suboctave, with one basic attribute and purpose of mastery of love vibration sharing in this earth planet. As a wanderer, it will not only affect the earth planetary sphere in a positive manner, but also because of its presence in the earth planet. The entire earth planetary vibration will vibrate in a rhythm of love. Because the entity is a wanderer, it will be able to tap into the energies of the infinite creator and thereby unify the energies of love, which shall enable it to expand into higher rhythms of vibration. The other aspects of the query relates with what is its past lifetimes experience and its soul's name. For this regard, we shall now address and answer one of its previous timelines from the infinite expanse of the universal complex. Prior to this timeline of 2022, it was found in many timelines wherein it was focused on learning many lessons. In one of the timelines, it was found prior to this in the location of the lands as known by the people of the Earth planet as the lands of Sirius A, wherein the entity was initiated as a Syrian entity who had to learn the lessons of self-awareness in that timeline. The focus of learning about self-awareness was deeply ingrained within its inner heart, which enabled it to understand the lessons of mastery about becoming truly self-aware and understanding a higher nature of resilience and reliance upon its inner heart. Furthermore, in that timeline, the entity also was able to master and learn many aspects of experiences which were related with a deepening of its own inner nature. This furthermore also provided the entity known as Elijah Mensah in that timeline with the opportunity of learning the lessons of focusing on advancement of its own sense of self. Further, the entity was then, after having learned the many lessons of its own rhythms of clarity, was then found in that timeline focusing on the vibration of mastery of opening its heart energy center. As it interacted with other Syrians, it began to expand its heart center in that timeline. Furthermore, after having learned these lessons, it was then able to enter into the fourth density New Earth vibration. After the mastery of its heart energy center vibration, furthermore, the entity was then found, after having learned the many lessons in that timeline, in the location of the previous incarnation cycle around the timeline of 1864, wherein the entity was known by the name of Kumara in one of the timelines in the lands of India. Its primary focus and activation was meant to teach it the lesson of self awareness and the vibration of love. The entity in the lands of India at the timeline was given advanced lessons to learn, to choose between the pathway of service to others or service to self. During this timeline, it focused firstly on learning to be self-resilient and self-independent as it began to work in the timeline as a farmer, and because it worked as a farmer in the timeline, it also had gained higher levels of lessons to learn, which were the lessons of overcoming excessive desire vibration. Because of the excessive desires it had learned to overcome as it began to progress slowly and steadily through the incarnation, it was then able to understand a deepening of its own rhythms. Furthermore, the entity, after learning about the vibrations of self-awareness in that timeline, was then found in the space-time illusion complex prior to that experience in the lands of India. As a teacher, it became a spiritually oriented teacher, and it had an interest in learning about the aspect of serving others without expectation of return, as taught in the religious systems of Hinduism. This furthermore enabled the entity to help others and assist others without seeking any form of reward. Indeed, this was the highest path of service, and then, prior to this, it was found in the location of the lands of Atlantis at a space-time of around 16,400 years ago, wherein its focus was on self-awareness for around 11 incarnation cycles, and then, after becoming self-aware in that timeline, prior to that it was found in the location of the planet of Arcturus B, wherein its origination was found at a time of 742 million years ago. Furthermore, we as the higher self of the entity shall state that we are always guiding it in this timeline, and the entity is well upon its pathway of ascension. Hence we leave you now, beloveds, stating that the entity is a wanderer. Bye.